Hello and welcome to the FinancialFox, finance, investment and crypto with a twist. I'm your host, Steffy B. I'm the founder of PR company Cassiope Services, and every week I bring to you my favorite conversations with investment experts, market disruptors, mover and shakers, and the coolest projects in crypto. Okay, in many of my videos, I have talked about unstoppable domains, which I was trying to introduce them to you because they are Web3 domain name or NFT domain or domain name on a blockchain. And today I have the co-founder on the show, Bradley Kam. So it's going to be an interesting chat. In the meantime, if you're not subscribed yet to your YouTube channel, make sure that you click the subscribe button and follow us on social media to stay up to date with our news and interviews. And finally, remember that all the content here is for informational purposes only. So we are not a financial advisor, and any investment that you make, you have to do your own due diligence and make sure that you are happy where you are putting your money. But let's go straight into the interview. Hi, Brad. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show finally, because I've been talking about unstoppable domains to my viewers, but having you on the show is a fantastic opportunity to explain a little bit more what unstoppable domains are.
For sure. So my background, I'm an entrepreneur, moved to San Francisco in 2012 to work on startups, to work on a marketing tech company, actually. And when I moved to San Francisco, I moved into this kind of crazy hacker house called 20 Mission, which was, it was like a 40-person building. I think there was like one kitchen for all the people sharing, but it was an early crypto hub and crypto community. The second Bitcoin exchange in the US was launched in the basement of the building. There was a Bitcoin media channel in 2013. Vitalik gave a talk in our courtyard before Ethereum went live. So pretty much everybody I met when I moved to San Francisco was in some way involved in crypto. So I went down the rabbit hole pretty early on then, started going to events and started meeting people, but didn't actually get full-time in the space until 2018. And Unstoppable was founded in January of 2018. And the idea was actually more around this idea of having these long crypto addresses as the way that people interact with blockchains was seen as kind of like ridiculous. I would say even back in like 2014, I remember people talking about how you were going to need some sort of a naming system. So it was kind of like a when and not if type problem. And so Matt, our founder, came up with a strategy and a way to implement this, and that was the start of Unstoppable in 2018.
Fantastic. And I mean, the approach that you're taking is pretty much so it's not decentralized in a way that those Web3 domain, they are traded, they are minted on in a decentralized way, but you are kind of making the experience very easy to onboard people so they can just pay with fiat and then you do the minting and everything for them. So I think it's quite an important point, considering not everybody is a crypto expert.
Yeah, so I think that the most important thing, if you're talking about crypto in general, I think the most important thing is that you as the user can have ownership. And if you can have ownership of your assets, it means that you can take them and you can leave. And this is critical because with Facebook or with Twitter or whatever, you can't just pick up all of your tweets, all of your data and leave and go to another app and take that to another app and use them elsewhere. You're trapped. That is not true with crypto. That is not true with NFT domains. You own them forever. What you said about minting is kind of a nuance. There's going to be a lot of different ways to do it. I don't know that, I don't know if people actually have a specific thing they're talking about when they say decentralized. They usually talk about lots of different things. I would say the most important aspect of decentralization is ownership. Does the user own the asset and can they do whatever they want with it?
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about this NFT web domain. How do they work? they are NFT? What is their utility? Because this is one of the biggest questions in the NFT right now, is actually to find utility to these digital assets. Just expand on that.
Yeah, so your NFT domain is like your Web3 identity. So you can use it to receive money, like a decentralized Venmo. You could send me money to brad.crypto. No need to send any tips or anything like that, just explaining how it works. And then you can also use it to log in and have it be your username inside of dApps. You can attach a profile picture to it, and it can be your username plus profile picture in the metaverse. The whole idea is that it's supposed to be your identity across apps. So I have the same username, I have the same account name, regardless of what app I'm using. And that core thing is what gives me power, me as the user, power relative to all the apps I'm using. Facebook doesn't own my username. There's no Facebook here to control everything. I own it. And this is what gives me my superpowers. So
if I'm just pretending that I'm somebody that doesn't know much about crypto, and I want to understand how I'm going to own this NFT. So I have a wallet, I connect to your website, my wallet, I'm going to pay in crypto or I'm going to pay in fiat. So explain me that. And then also where the NFT, the web domain that I bought is going to be. Is going to stay in my wallet, is going to stay in your platform, because there are also concerns about storage of NFT. What about if the marketplace disappear? Is my NFT disappearing as well? Yeah,
so I think that the short answer is you can store it wherever you want. So when you buy the domain name, you mint it, and then you send it to whatever wallet you want. So you could send it to the MetaMask wallet you already use. You can also store it in an exchange if you're worried about losing it. You can also decide to mint it later, which means that you've just created an account and purchased, but you haven't actually minted it and taken control of it later. From a security perspective, the best solution would be probably to mint it to your wallet and store the private key yourself. But if you're worried about that, there's other options. So it's kind of like Coinbase, like you can store your Bitcoin or your ETH in Coinbase if you want to. And if you want to take full control of it, then you transfer it out. So it's kind of a user choice thing, how that works, but you can store it anywhere, just like any NFT. And this is kind of the magic of this tech is that if you want to be completely in control of your assets, you can. I think that's what's new about Web3.
And people can pay in fiat for the domain. Okay. And tell me a little bit about the minting. How complicated is the process?
You just buy and then you click mint, and then it'll pop up and it'll say, do you want to connect your MetaMask or do you want to use Wallet Connect? It's just like what you would expect, when you're using OpenSea or a DeFi app or whatever. It works just like that, and yeah.
So you are basically going to do all the work. I mean, I know that you are using Polygon and you are going to basically looking after all the tech behind the minting. So people don't have to worry about anything. They just pay. The only thing they have to make sure is that they send it to the right address. So they store the NFT properly, and and then they are set.
And even that is they don't even have to worry about typing in an address or anything. You just connect your wallet. And so the software will check and make sure that it's going to so as long as you have control of the private key that you're using, as long as you have a backup and all that good stuff, and you're being careful, you're all good. It's just like owning ETH or just like owning any other NFT. It's the same type of security. Although we also have these other options, like you could store your domain inside of an exchange, or you could not mint it yet. So, choose your own adventure in crypto. That's how it should work. This is all about users having choice. And if the user got to decide, when we talk to people, some say, I absolutely want to store my own domain name and have it controlled with my private key. I think that's really important to me. And other people say, I absolutely don't want to do that. That sounds terrifying. What if I lose it? So, there's going to be multiple things that users want.
So we talk about digital ownership and we talk about Web3. How do you see? So when you own an NFT web domain, that's kind of like your digital identity. That's the way you describe it. What are the implications of digital identities in Web3?
So I think the big picture is that. So I think the big picture is this idea of interoperability. Like I get to have the same identity and username across all of my apps. I get to build up my reputation across all of my apps. I get to own it, and I get to easily go from one app to another. So right now, we're all trapped in Facebook. All of our data is there. We've been there for 15 years. It would be extremely difficult for us to just switch and move to another Facebook tomorrow if we don't like what Facebook.com is doing. And in the Web3 world, you will store all of your own data. You will store your reputation. You will own your identity, your username. And if you don't like what Facebook.com is doing, you will log out and then log into a new one. And all your data is there, all your friends, all your contacts, all your messages, all of your reputation. And that's the thing that changes the power balance. Like that switches.
That's a great image, because it's like you are, relocating somewhere, but you don't even have to bring the luggage. You just click a button and everything pops up. I think it's a fantastic metaphor. But talking a little bit more about interoperability, you are now on Ethereum, right? How do you have a plan to expand to the other chain, or how do you see also the multi-chain future, how that is going to shape up, and what company like yours should be doing to move towards this kind of like more inclusive Web3?
I think the most important thing is for users to be able to use their domains to send assets on whatever blockchain they want. So if you want to send Bitcoin using the domain, if you want to send Solana or Ethereum using the domain, whatever you want to send, the domain should work for any currency. It works for around 200 right now. So you could send me one of 200 different cryptocurrencies all to the domain name, but we're adding more. So it's important to make sure that essentially all blockchains that have demand can be used with the domain names. Now, there's also this other thing of which blockchain is the domain minted on. That's something that is, from a user perspective, it's actually not best if that's on hundreds of different blockchains, because then that becomes really, really hard for apps to be able to integrate. So that's something where it's kind of like, it's better for the users if it's on a smaller number of blockchains. And that's the reason why we're pretty selective, but at the same time, we're ultimately technology agnostic. So we've launched on Zilliqa, we've launched on Ethereum, we've launched on Polygon, we'll probably launch on other blockchains in the future. We're just trying to figure out what's the best for the users. And what's the best for users is going to be about cost, like low gas fees, and it's going to be about integrations. How many apps support this blockchain? The reason why we chose Polygon is because for this last set of minting is because they have low gas fees. I think it's like 3 cents or something like that right now. And a huge number of apps already support Polygon and make it easy. So that's the criteria. We don't care. Users don't care. Like, users don't care which underlying technology. They just want their digital identity and they want it to work. Okay.
So they buy the NFT web domain, and then you said they own it forever, right? So, and they also own it, so nobody can hack them or take their domain down. Now, we are still in a Web3 world where you have a domain name and you have to pay for hosting and, all these kind of things. And there is an internet problem, and then your domain goes down, and, there are different kind of security issue. The Web3 is there. You are offering a Web3 domain name, but when is this shift happening? When we are actually going to be using this other version of the internet, and what is going to happen to Web 2?
So I think we're already starting to use it. I think the thing that is weird is, in 1990s, I had a landline phone and I called it a phone. Now I have a smartphone, which is really just a computer in my pocket, but I call that a phone too. And yet I almost never call anybody. I do virtually everything else except calling. I call a little bit, but I mostly do all these other things. I think a NFT domain name is going to be similar in that way to a traditional domain name, where I'm going to use it to receive messages, and I'm going to use it to receive payments, and I'm going to use it to authenticate, like a decentralized Facebook OAuth or a decentralized Google OAuth. I'm going to attach all kinds of real world information about myself and prove it. So I'm going to do all sorts of things, and I'm going to do a little bit of website stuff, but that's going to be a small percentage of the overall things that I do. And so consumers are using these more than businesses. And so that's the reason why you're seeing payments like decentralized Venmo, and you're seeing identity and login, because that's what consumers are using. So I think we're already starting to use it, and it's already starting to replace the way that we do login and verifications in Web 2 already, just by typing in my domain name and sending me money instead of using some sort of wire or traditional system. If I log in and connect my MetaMask wallet and sign in with my domain name, I'm already doing this Web3 version instead of Web 2, but it's consumer focused. And so the answer to your question about websites, when will we only see websites on this technology? It might be many, many years in the future, because businesses, I think, are going to be later adopters, and that tech is okay. Like, that tech's kind of working. Yeah. The consumer internet is just totally, totally broken. And so that's really where that's where things are starting. And in 2 decades, it'll probably take over all these markets. But
do you think that we need like browsers or, for instance, Google to kind of adopt or transition to Web3 in order to see this website, decentralized website, to take over? I don't think Google can actually, unless they become a foundation, I can't see them moving to Web3. I don't see the way that this big Web2 company can actually integrate into Web3. I don't know, maybe if you have got some ideas or you've been thinking about that.
I think you'll see them do some things. I think that they could, but it's kind of like the innovator's dilemma. Like, are they going to go and shift all of the old ways of doing business in order to embrace the future? I think usually what happens in tech waves is that most of the big companies don't adjust and don't really adopt it as much as they should. And then maybe like one or two do, and figure it out and wind up being a real part of the future. So I would say that probably some will and some won't. But whatever the future version of the internet is, it's going to be quite different. It's not just going to be like a new Google. It's going to be entirely different. Like, one of the things that a lot of people in Web3 are talking about is that these aggregator apps, like all the data, like, is going to be on the blockchain, and then any app can just go and read the blockchain and then have all of this content. The content, they can just go and grab it and then display it. And so you're going to have all these aggregator apps, and maybe aggregator apps that are curating all these different interesting decentralized social media profiles. That's the future of Google, so to speak, is that it's more like there's 20 decentralized Twitters, and that's what causes everybody to kind of give up on Google, because there's all of this social searching. So it's probably not going to be like, we're just going to take the old thing and move it over here. It's like, we're going to build an entirely new thing that kind of merges these two together. I know it's kind of a fuzzy answer, but
I think you mentioned something very interesting: curating. Because Web3, it looks like there are a lot of stuff and everybody can create, but you need to curate content as well. And then maybe it's perhaps where DAO structure can come in, incentivizing curators and stakeholders. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously we are talking about something that is not there yet, but I think curation is a very important point, because users still need direction. They don't need to be told you have to do that, otherwise yes, no, or you are out. But you need curation.
And it's just like the early internet. Like in the 1990s, there were just websites everywhere, and a bunch of them were like, people just typing random stuff, or like, a silly poem or something like that. It wasn't well curated. It wasn't easy to find the awesome stuff. And then that happened later on. But the first thing that happens is you get this explosion of creativity and people just start creating all over the place. And that's the phase that we're at with NFTs right now. People are just creating all over the world, all kinds of crazy stuff everywhere. And now after a few years of just like, wow, we're just like, just dumping all kinds of amazing stuff into the universe, then there's going to be this demand for, okay, now we need to organize it in some way so that people, because like, if you go on YouTube, there's like, enough content, to watch for like, whatever, like 1 million, years of human lives or something like that. Like it's total overload. Like we have to have curation because we don't live long enough and there's too much.
Exactly. So you mentioned about NFTs and the kind of explosion of creativity right now. Do you think there is a hype in the NFT space? How do you think it's going to settle down?
There's always hype when you have this new awareness. Like whenever, so the world became aware of NFTs in 2021. And I think the lesson I hope people take away is that there are real emerging industries here that are going to be important in the future. And there's art, and there's collectibles, and there's identity. There are these categories that are being developed that are going to be important in the future. And I would focus more on the categories, like whatever trends people are trying to write about NFTs. It's like you're going to like comparing the trends around music and art and identity, they're just so different from each other. It's kind of almost goofy to group them together. There's something real going on, which is emerging new industries. And that's where I would focus attention if I were trying to follow along. Okay.
And perhaps having, I was thinking Web3 domain, that could be one of the big things in the crypto space because they've got an actual utility, which we mentioned before. Is there anything else that you are planning to include in your project or something quite different, innovative that you are exploring and could be part of the journey towards Web3?
The biggest thing that is starting to happen that you're going to see from us is around being able to attach more real world information to your domain name.
Okay,
so that you can use this in apps. And so you already have this login. So you already have login with your domain name.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to log in with your domain name, prove certain information, like have some certain verified information about yourself. Like imagine, you have like, verified, academic credentials. I actually went to this college or got this degree or any number of other real world things about you. And then you're going to be able to share that with apps or share a proof of that information with apps without actually sharing the info. And this is kind of like a new concept. Like you can know that something is true. Like you can know that this owner of this domain is also the owner of this credential.
Yeah.
And then you can share the proof of the information without actually exposing it. Like I could say like, I have a PhD in biology, but I don't want to tell you where from. I want to remain, anonymous, but I still want to be able to prove this information about myself. That is the key superpower, that concept right there. And this is what's going to change the internet, is you can have proof of information about strangers.
Yeah, so kind of accessibility to data without sharing of data without showing your identity. Something
sharing
like that.
The verification of the information without having to expose the actual information.
How are you developing this kind of data integration? And it seems quite complicated.
There are real world data sources. And so what'll happen is that you're just attesting a real world data source. Like you could imagine that your college goes and, signs something and says that this is, I say that this is, this person has this degree. It also works for medical records or legal matters or real world identity. Like I'm a unique person. So there's all kinds of things that you can do with this. And, this is sort of the key to putting the user back in control. Right now, Facebook has to verify this information about you. and do all these kind of like almost spying techniques in order to say like this information that you gave Facebook is actually true, and they buy data from all kinds of other weird sources. In the future, you're going to control it all, and you're going to say, I don't want to tell you this stuff. I want to control it, but I am going to prove to you something about myself, and then you're going to be able to give me a special experience because of that. You're going to be able to let me use this app. You're going to be able to give me some special reward. I fit your criteria. You're going to be able to show me a certain ad and incentivize me to watch it. All of these things are about being able to prove information.
And that is going to be within your web domain NFT, or is going to be other product that you are going to roll out in the future?
Well, it's all related. So the way that we think about it is your domain name is kind of like this platform, like your digital identity, and then you can attach all sorts of things on top of it. People are going to be, there's going to be third parties that are going to be building apps and verifications for your domain. We're going to build some of the core ones. So you're going to see us build some of the pieces and have that be kind of part of unstoppabledomains.com. But that's not the only way.
Yeah. Okay. So just to wrap it up, tell me how the company is doing, and perhaps making a comparison when you first started, right? How was the demand? And right now, how the company has grown. I think that is an important point to make.
I mean, many times. I mean, we started at, essentially zero in January of 2019, and this was in crypto winter. And, we went from, whatever that was, 4 people to, over 100. And, it's been a wild ride. The company's been growing many times per year, in customers and in domains registered. I think there's more than 2 million domains registered now.
Wow. Is there a limit for domain name registration?
It's definitely the most, I believe, in the NFT domain world, and even in the traditional domain world, you're considered a big TLD. I think if you get around like 1 million or something like that. I think .crypto is already approaching that. I don't think it's quite crossed 1 million yet, but pretty close. So yeah, I think you're going to see these systems be able to eclipse the traditional ones. And part of the reason why is because it's for consumers. So, the number of people that need to have this technology is every internet user, needs to have one. And actually most people like to have more than one. Like when we see, I think that, people are buying, more than 5, I think on average. And the reason why is because you have a business, you have a friend, you have a nickname, you have your public identity, your pseudo anonymous one. There's just a few different, ideas or reasons to own one. Sometimes people, get a premium one so they can show off on Twitter. There's all sorts of, slightly different uses for different ones. So that's what we're seeing.
What the level of personalization users are going to be able to add in the future? Because at the moment you can choose, different kind of web domain, but you can't create your own. I mean, you can choose the extension, you can choose the name, and if it's free or is not taken, then you can get it. But is there any kind of personalization that you are going to include, or you see is going to happen in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot of demand is what we see. We see a lot of demand for different choices. Like users really want choices here. That's one thing that we've realized, and that's part of the reason why we support, and have multiple TLDs as options. So I think there continues to be more demand for choices. So I think that's something that's important.
Okay. Kam, listen, it was a fantastic chat, Brad. Thank you a lot. And it was, it's very inspiring. And I'm looking forward to see the progress at Unstoppable Domain, but also how this Web3 is shaping up. And also I would like to see people taking control of their data more, because I think right now people understand, maybe I don't want to share my data, but because they need access to something or they need something out there, then at the end of the day, they don't mind, they just share it. And I think what I would like to see is people a little bit more conscious and making decisions that might imply paying a little bit more, but pay to protect your digital identity. That's so important for children, for people a little bit older, for, and for anybody. I think that's what I really would like to see. But yeah, I'm sure that, you are here to help this transition to happen.
Working on it.
Okay, thank you for coming on the show. Anybody that want to get in touch with you, where should I go?
Follow us on Twitter at UnstoppableWeb, and that's the best place. Of course, you can check out unstoppabledomains.com and see what's going on there as well.
Fantastic. Thank you.